excited of a day with a dietitian today. I'm here at Popeye Supplements on Richmond with Jake, the owner, and we're going to be giving you a little bit of education about what supplements to kind of choose or integrate into your life. Jake, tell us a little bit about the
So I'm Jake. I'm the owner of Popeye Supplements here at 310 Richmond Street West. We've been open for almost a year now, and it's been absolutely awesome. Our main goal here is to help everybody, regardless of goal, regardless of what you're trying to achieve, ranging from athletes to everyday people just trying to get overall better general health. And we try to cover the full spectrum of everything you need for your supplementation.
Awesome. So let's take you on a little tour. And just a little disclaimer before we get started. So by no means am I giving you individual recommendations, but this should give you a good foundation to start looking into supplements for yourself. Always try to educate yourself first and ask lots of questions when you're stepping into a supplement store. Jake's very knowledgeable, so first he can stop on our little tour of the store is going to be protein powders. So you're probably going to see the most amount of bottles on the walls from protein powders just because there's a lot of different varieties. So understanding, first of all, if you need protein, when to use it, and then understanding different types and uses is going to be really valuable because it can be a useful supplement to integrate into your life. With protein powders, realistically, they're meant to supplement intake in that we always say food first, but sometimes it's very, very hard to reach our protein goals and also to have a convenient protein source. So I don't know if you've ever been in a really big rush after you've had a workout and it's like, hey, I can't get to a meal till 2 hours later. Protein powder can be a great option to grab and go. It can also be a really nice way to add protein to meals that otherwise would be devoid. So I think a lot of people love to have oatmeal for breakfast. Adding a scoop of protein powder into that can be a great way to add protein in. And then for people who maybe are trying to look to gain weight, protein powder can be an easy thing to kind of add into shakes and smoothies, quick to digest, and isn't going to leave them feeling really full. I think also sweets cravings too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially nowadays when you get protein powders that nail really fun flavors like Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Fruity Pebbles and things like that without loading it with tons of sugar. Mm-hmm. It's awesome for people who come in and go, hey, late at night, I'm craving candy or cake. Awesome. We can help you still reach your goals without overloading with much sugar.
Perfect, yeah. And also it's a fun creations. You can also do protein powder beyond a shake too. So people just have to do some exploring. So we're going to start over here on this section, and that is our plant-based protein. So obviously for people who are following a plant-based diet, and especially there's a lot of people out there that can't tolerate dairy, so the whey and casein proteins are out of the question as well as a lot of the blends. So the plant-based proteins are really nice in terms of digestion as well as having that convenient protein source from a non-dairy source. My personal favorite over here is the Iron Vegan, just because the regular blend does not have pea or bean protein in it, and I know for myself that's something that's really important when I'm looking at plant-based. A lot of them do have blends of different protein sources so that you have a complete amino acid profile, which is going to be really important to make sure you're getting full recovery in. Over here we also have Vega, which I would say is probably like the founder of plant-based proteins. Just make sure when you're looking at the Vega section, the Vega 1 is more of a meal replacement shake versus the Vega Sport is our actual protein powder that's going to be lower in fat and carbs and higher in protein. In terms of other protein sources, if you're looking for something that's a little bit less of a blend, there is plain brown rice protein powder as well as hemp. And newer to the market is the pumpkin seed protein right here, which a lot of people are trending towards if they have digestive issues. You've probably had a lot of questions from people coming in saying, hey, I've had a whey protein and my stomach doesn't feel the best.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably the main reason I find people ask about plant-based proteins. They're like, hey, I tried a whey protein and it absolutely does not agree with my stomach. And even in a lot of cases, people are still using pure isolates, lactose-free, and it's just a problem with whey. And nowadays, again, getting back to the whole flavor profile, plant-based protein is more palatable than ever and arguably the highest quality it's ever been. So it's a fantastic option.
Yeah, not to knock whey though. That's where we're going to be heading next. So over onto this part of the wall, we have our whey proteins. So whey protein is one part of the dairy proteins found in milk. So that is going to be a nice quick, so I think this is like the founder of protein powder is the whey protein. To know with whey protein is it's very, very quick to digest. So really ideal around your training, whether you're looking for a quick protein source to get into your bloodstream either before training with a quick carbohydrate source or after training if you're on the go. This is kind of the go-to of most people. And I would say it blends really well into smoothies and doesn't give you any sort of chalkiness in comparison to maybe other protein powders that have a thicker consistency about them. I know for myself, I've used a lot of different ways in the past that have hit that sweet tooth like nothing else. Like this is where you get into a lot of the fun flavors. Like my personal favorite for a lot of my clients as well is the Beyond Yourself as well as the Diesel. And I really like the Iso XP as well because it does have the probiotics in there and some enzymes to help you digest the protein a little bit faster. Yep. Jake, I've heard a lot about like the isolate versus the concentrate in terms of the processing. I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So a whey protein isolate is just that. They put it through a process that isolates down the protein. So you're actually going to be looking, when you're comparing an isolate to a concentrate, isolate's going to have a higher percentage of protein per scoop. So less carbohydrates, less fat, basically less of everything that's not protein. Now with concentrates, you are going to get marginally more carbs and fat, but they're also going to have a little bit more micronutrient value to it because it's not nearly as processed. So it's really depending on your main goal.
Perfect, yeah. So definitely kind of considering those when you're walking into the store, because I think even if we look at one subcategory of protein powder, there's still lots of selection. So making sure you're asking lots of questions before you buy a protein powder. I know you have different sample stations too, so people could always come in and sample the proteins.
Yeah, absolutely. We try to keep all of the fun flavors especially, but a lot of the best quality products on our sample station. You can always come in and ask, and we're more than happy to help you try it out.
Yeah, cool. So let's move on down the line, on to the next one. So next we're going to be looking at more blends of protein, which are around here. Woohoo! So we have the blends. So that's usually combining whey and casein. So we haven't quite got to casein, but we're going to talk about that next. It's going to be a very, very slow digesting protein. So for some people, they're looking for a protein powder that doesn't digest nearly as quickly, because some people complain that when they have whey, they're hungry shortly thereafter because it is very, very quick to digest. So the time release are really nice, and then like the blends, because you're going to get the best of both worlds in terms of the whey's going to digest fairly quickly, repair your muscles, and then the casein's going to be a little bit slower to digest. Yeah, and what brands do you typically gravitate towards for the blends?
So when we look at blends, I want to make sure that everything kind of matches up in terms of how much of each protein source is in there. A couple that I really personally gravitate towards and has been just incredibly popular for years, you're going to be looking at products like the Promisil by Rivalus. Rivalus is a really cool company because they were actually originally formulated for CFL athletes, so the quality's through the roof. They use a blend of whey isolate and micellar casein, and one of my longtime favorites is these guys here, the Magnum Quattro. They actually utilize 4 types of protein: casein, milk, egg, whey, and egg protein. They taste incredible, very little filler, and you get that awesome multi-stage release.
Perfect. Awesome. And it comes, I was going to say, the variety of flavors that are now for the Quattro is definitely on point.
They cover everything from your standard chocolate and vanilla to your fruity pebbles and your salted caramel. So they try to please everybody, and they do.
Awesome. Okay, so we have one more category and then possibly a little bit more left to cover. So casein, I would say in comparison to whey, like I would say that is also another like older, more like the OG of protein powder. So casein is slower to digest, so often very, very beneficial before you go to bed. If you're looking to get a little bit extra protein, that's going to be a lot slower to digest and help with muscle recover while you sleep. Also, if you're someone that you're looking for a protein source that you're having like in between meals to kind of tie you over for a little bit of time, the casein is a really nice option there. And it is going to also be a little bit thicker. So I find a lot of my clients will make it into ice cream or make it into different like smoothies and things if they're looking for a much thicker protein powder versus the whey that is quite thin.
Yeah, if you're like me and you're really having cravings for ice cream, a couple scoops of casein and a little bit of almond milk or water, mix it up, put it in the freezer for 20 minutes, and it is bang on. It's really good.
No, so good. Yeah, and then there's different brands. Like I know I'm personally familiar with the ON as well as the Dimetize. You use a casein.
Yep.
Which one are you familiar more, or have you used?
So I've used all 3 of these brands, and I bring in these 3 brands because these are the ones that sit best in my stomach and honestly have the best flavor feedback. I usually gravitate towards the ON or the Diametize. I find they mix a little bit thinner, but if you're looking for it for baking purposes, put it in like any recipes. Mutant, because it's a little bit thicker, is awesome.
Nice. So, Jake, are we missing anything? Is there anything that we haven't covered yet?
Absolutely. So, animal-based protein. So this is the Redcon 1 MRE Light. This is going to be a blend of chicken, beef, fish, and egg protein. I find that over the past couple of years, you see beef protein becoming ever more popular. A lot of people are recommending it. A lot of people are trying it. And honestly, nowadays, they've nailed the flavor, so it tastes really good.
Yeah.
Animal-based proteins are great for people who can't handle any of the proteins that we've offered before, or if you just want to try something new and see how it sits. They are absolutely incredible, full amino acid profile, and definitely worth giving a try to.
Variety is where it's at.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, that is our protein powders before we're going to move on to the next section. The protein bar wall, which I think can be both a blessing and a headache in the same go for most consumers coming in. I personally love protein bars because they're a super convenient way to get lots of protein into your diet, and they can also be a nice way to also portion control. However, I think there's a lot of unknowns about protein bars in terms of what people are looking for and what they should be looking at on the label. So I've grabbed a few of my favorite protein bar brands in terms of looking at the macros. Jake's going to talk a little bit later when we're talking about more specific ingredients. But basically, when we're looking at a protein bar, we want to look at the nutrition facts label on the back. So the first thing I always say to look at is how much protein is in this supposed protein bar. Because there is some protein bars out there that are marketed as a protein bar, but only contain 10 grams of protein, which isn't actually that much. So when we're looking at the protein, we want to be seeing a minimum of 15 grams of protein. So that's the first stop. The second thing we want to be looking at is how much fat. So generally I say 10 grams or less of fat in a protein bar. And then if we're looking also at the carbs, we want to make sure that it's not going over 30 grams of carbs, with the sugar being under about 2 to 3 grams, depending on the brand too, but we want to be taking that into consideration. So taking all those things, looking at the big picture, Quest is one that I think is like ages old. Like I remember Quest when I first started my own fitness journey. It's one that it's expanded quite a bit in terms of the flavors and what they offer. One bar is one that a lot of people really like in terms of getting like a sweet craving. It is a coated bar. So a lot of people say it reminisces a lot of candy bars, and there's also like the flavors are pretty good. Like I'm personally like a birthday cake fan, but it's whatever you feel like you really enjoy. Grenade is a newer one to the market. I think it's what, a year old, 2 years old?
About a year or two.
Yeah, and it's coming from the UK, right?
Yep.
So something new to the market, and they come in really great flavors too. It's coated as well.
It is.
So it gives you that similar feel to that one bar to get that craving in with good macros. The BF bar is another bar there, and it's a little bit softer than a Quest bar. So some people that complain about being the Quest bar being really, really chewy, similar macros to the Quest bar, all the same. And then the last one, which Jake is going to talk a little bit more details about, is the Darrow bar, which I find a lot of my clients really like, just because of the fact that the ingredients are a little bit more natural.
Yeah.
So Jake, tell me a little bit more about the ingredients to kind of expect in protein bars.
Yeah, and that's one thing you always want to look towards. Make sure the ingredient profile checks out. Thankfully nowadays there's lots of protein bars when you spin them around and look at what's in them. A lot of the ingredients you can find in a grocery store aisle, and you can put it all together. Whey protein based is awesome if that's what you're after, but a lot of brands nowadays actually make a plant-based version of their bars as well without sacrificing loading it with a bunch of junk. So you always want to make sure that when you read the ingredient profile, one, you can pronounce pretty much everything in there, and two, it's all stuff you're very familiar with. The Darrow bar, you're looking at sweet potatoes, quinoa, whey protein, honey, things like that.
Perfect. And then also, I noticed over here we have some protein cookies that are down here. I think it's very, very tempting when someone walks into the store to be like, oh my God, they have protein cookies. I'm going to eat them and use them in place of a protein bar. One thing I would say is they're great for people who are either trying to put on some weight and either using that as a snack between your meals, or if you're looking at the actual like portion size of it, you're having like a half to a quarter of it in place of a snack during the day. or you can even have it as a meal replacement, to be
Absolutely,
honest.
yeah.
So, but being very, very wary of pretty much all the protein cookies, not necessarily saying you can't have them, but just making sure you're looking at the portion size of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So lots to kind of explore and to look through. I would say with protein bars, you almost want to do some trial and error to find out what you prefer and what flavor sits well, what composition treats your body really well, because that can be one thing, is stomach being upset. But taking some time to mix and match for a while. Not least is just supplements for overall health. So by no means am I making specific recommendations, as I said in the beginning, but these are some supplements that have really good health benefits for most individuals, and I would definitely do your own research or talk to a dietitian like myself to find out what works best with you. So we're going to start over here with omega-3s, so fish oils. There's lots more variety now than I think used to be when fish oils first came onto the market and everyone complained about the flavor. So fish oils are going to be awesome for health in terms of cardiovascular, heart health. We're going to be looking at hair, skin, and nails. Yes, it's a wonderful beauty vitamin, sorry. And then it's also going to be great for joint health and inflammation in general. So omegas, lots of great implications. They're also brain health as well. So there's lots of great things about omegas, and there's different indications for how much you should be having in different brands. But do be aware that there is some medical conditions out there that say don't have omega-3, so again, do your own research. So moving on to vitamin D. So this is one that is actually the #1 deficiency in North America. People don't realize this, but part of the issue is in Canada specifically, we don't always get beautiful sunny days like this. We get a lot of rain, we get a lot of snow, we get a lot of weird weather. So vitamin D is the nutrient that we're actually going to be synthesizing in our skin from the sunlight. So taking it exogenously can be very, very beneficial, especially if you are someone that works at a desk or you're stuck inside, especially during peak hours, which would be when you would be getting the vitamin D in. It's actually almost virtually impossible to get vitamin D from your diet. So it is one that most people should be supplementing in daily life. Anything vitamin D that you find there's a popular brand?
In terms of brands, ATP and Progressive has always seemed to be the top two due to their quality control. And the cool thing now is you get the variety. If you prefer capsules, that's where something like Progressive can come in. But them and ATP also make a really, really convenient spray. I know for me, the spray is a little bit more convenient. I just keep it at my desk, boom, a couple sprays, and you're done and ready to go.
Yes, and you want to make sure that you're having it earlier in the day, because vitamin D is one of the ones that can make you feel a little happy and giddy and full of energy. So let's try to avoid that, people. Bedtime is important. So we're going to move on to some greens here. So greens are really good for people that have issues getting our vegetables. I think a lot of us are facing the challenge where either we find vegetables are really expensive downtown, or we just don't like them, or we look at the prep. And as much as I'm a dietitian and I preach vegetables as frequently as possible, it's not always the case. So this is where veggie greens can come in handy. Also, if you're someone that maybe you're dealing with some immune system issues, or just generally you're trying to boost your overall health and energy, the greens can be a great option, and they come in all sorts of flavors now. So we even have like a berry one. I know I've had personally this one before, and it's mixed it in even with a protein shake. It's a really nice thing. You can also like have first thing in the morning. Gives you a nice little energy boost without having to have caffeine.
Yeah, absolutely. They taste amazing now, and they're incredible to throw into your shakes and smoothies.
Easy. Get some extra nutrients in the day. And so without further ado, we'll move on to the last one, which is going to be the multivitamins. So I would say this is probably one of the most controversial topics in supplements, besides some other, like looking at more sports-specific supplements, and we're talking about health. So with multivitamins, a lot of people just take them because they think that it's going to be a Band-Aid for their diet. I would say multivitamins are great during peak seasons, like right now, where maybe we're in some sort of virus being spread around, or there's cold and flu season. The multis are going to be that extra little bit to help boost your immune system. If you're someone who's training a lot, sometimes your body's under extra stress. That could be a great thing. Or if you're someone that you have any health problems or nutrient deficiencies, or if you're someone that maybe you have restrictions in your diet, like you follow a plant-based diet, or you're allergic to dairy, or whatever the nutrient may be, sometimes it's good, or you're a picky eater, it's a nice thing to add in to cover your bases.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of brands out there now too, and some multivitamins contain some fish oil, some contain some green concentrates, some contain more immune support than others. So there's definitely a variety. So you can definitely find one that fits your goals quite
Yeah,
easily.
I would say definitely come in and ask questions, and people need to make sure that they're saying what they're looking for when they're looking at the supplements, especially with the multivitamins, because then you're going to get one that's actually right for you. So that is just a general overview. As you can see, there's lots of other awesome stuff here which can help you with your health goals, but we're just touching the surface today so that you have some basis of supplement knowledge for health. Intimidating as it is to come into a supplement store, I think we all can agree that we have a little bit more insight, so we know where to start when we're walking into a supplement store. Again, it's all about asking questions and being on your own little journey with your health to maximize your achievements. I know I personally really like coming to Popeyes because I know there's lots of selection, and the team here, the Popeyes team, is extremely knowledgeable on everything.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on not working off commission and not having any house brands. So when you come in and you ask us questions, we are absolutely committed to giving you the best answers for your goals based on products we actually believe in and use ourselves. And that's something we really take pride in.
100%. So come on in today and get all of your supplement needs.